I want to share with you some of my personal thoughts about mission teams. These come out of my experience serving on two church planting teams, one for 8 years in the country of Benin in West Africa, followed by 5 years in Togo. And those aren't the only teams that I've served on. I was part of a ministry team in New Zealand. I'm currently a part of a team of training coaches where I work at Pioneer Bible Translators. So I'd like to share a few things that I've learned about teams from my own experiences. The first of these is that there's no one right way rather for a team to form. Teams can come together in different ways. The teams that I was a part of were formed primarily at Christian universities, and the way that we formed our team, it was intentional, but it was also relational. We knew that we wanted to be on the team, and we weren't, but different people who had that same idea, that same kind of intention, came together. We spent time together. We shared meals together. We went on camping trips together. We had retreats together, and on those retreats we could see who gelled with the group and who did not. And it was really a very organic process. No one was really in charge of it. No one was running it. But over time, God led several of us to come together and form a team. He led others in different directions, and that was okay. And I still consider myself very good friends with some of those people who, in some way or another, we chose not to work together. One thing that I would say about your team then is that those who are forming the team need to take responsibility for themselves. They need to take ownership of their team in a sense. If you're part of an agency, work within the parameters of that agency because that's what you signed up for. But at the same time, you still have to take the initiative for the healthy development of your team. You can't depend on someone else to do it and think, well, if they need, surely they would tell us something if we needed to do it. You need to be proactive. You need to talk to people. You need to get information, get ideas, try different things. Be intentional about the formation of your ministry team. Another thing that you certainly need to do as the team begins to come together is to work out a common vision. Everyone needs to be on the same page. Everyone needs to know that they're working for the same goals. And you really can't do that unless you talk about it, unless you spend time together working out that common vision. Also on a team, you need to help one another serve in their sweet spot. Help each person find their role on the team that fits them best. Share with you a personal example. When I was working in Togo, I was on a team of church planters. I had come to be a church planter, but I had difficulty finding an area, finding my niche within the team, finding a place to work. It seemed that everybody had their geographic zone that they were working in. They knew what they were doing. They knew where they were supposed to go, and that just wasn't working out well for me. Well, with time, I found a niche in terms of leadership development, translating materials that not only I, but the rest of our team could use in training leaders. And that became my sweet spot on the team. It's something that I did, that I enjoyed doing, that I valued, and that the rest of the team valued and consistently affirmed my service in that area. So I was serving differently from some of the other people on the team, but I was serving in the place that I was gifted to serve in. So embrace the diversity that will be on your team. Not everyone on the team will have the same gifts. That's not the way the body of Christ works. So embrace that. Value the different roles. Not everyone needs to be doing the same thing. So recognize that and recognize the value in what each person is doing and affirm that. Don't stereotype male and female roles, but also don't resist gender-specific roles if some on the team choose them. Again, on the team that we were on in Togo, I joined that team and it was already formed, and I was a bit surprised to find that the men's meetings and the women's meetings were separate. And in the team that I had been on in Benin, the men and the women had always met together, strategized together, planned together. But in the development of this team in Togo, the women had chosen to meet separately from the men. They weren't interested in a lot of the discussions that the men were having, and they had other things that they wanted to discuss and work out among themselves. And so there was some gender distinction on the team, but that was something that the women on the team had chosen. So don't stereotype. Anyone can do anything. But at the same time, if people choose to do what may appear to be gender-specific roles, don't resist that. Don't feel that that's necessarily a bad thing. On the team, the team needs to figure out a leadership style that is right for that team. Most teams have a clear team leader. That person's authority needs to be defined, but if they're a great leader, they should never have to pull rank. If everyone is clear about who the leader is, but the leader is serving and the leader has his finger on the pulse of the team, that leader, if he or she is a good leader, is not going to have to use their authority to say, well, we're doing this just because I'm the leader. It's possible to have leadership, however, on a team without having one team leader. In Benin, our team would appoint drivers. We didn't have a specific team leader. But yet, anytime there was a project, whether it was a meeting or a specific ministry project that would come up, we would always ask, okay, who's going to drive this? Who's going to lead this? Who's going to take point on this? And so you do need leadership, whether or not your team has a specific team leader. It's important for that leadership to form around true biblical leadership gifts rather than the strength of personality or personal charisma. Don't assume that the person on the team with the strongest personality, the person that tends to dominate the meetings, should be the leader. Make sure that person has true biblical leadership gifts. And it may take some time to tell who the best leader is or who the best leaders are on your team. So be willing to take that time during your team formation process. Don't feel that you have to name the leader from the very beginning. Another thing I would say about teams is that teams need to learn to love and serve one another. Enjoy being together. Enjoy your social times together. Get together for birthdays. Get together for holidays, whether they're national holidays or American holidays. Look after one another during difficult times, times like sickness and culture shock and home assignment. When one family goes on home assignment, other people on the team are going to need to pick up some slack, whether it's in their ministry or looking after their home, or if they have people who work around their home, maybe night guards, you're going to have to cover for them. And so love and serve one another on the team. While you're doing that, though, make sure that you don't smother each other. Allow plenty of room within the team that each person can pursue their independent interests, whether it's their personal interests, or whether it's we had a teammate in Togo who was very interested in golf, and there was one golf course in the country, and that family spent their days off on the golf course, and everybody knew that and gave them that space. Another teammate was interested in horseback riding, and there happened to be an equestrian club in the capital city that she would go to regularly. Also allow and take opportunities for developing friendships with the local people. Not all your friendships should be on the team. In fact, it's essential that you get out and that you learn to enjoy being with the local people, spending time with them, and not just becoming a team that grows in on itself and only spends time socially with one another. You really need to form good relationships with the local people. Learn to depend not just on your teammates, but also on the local people. Know that they have a lot that they can contribute to you and your life, and you need to learn to depend on them. And by depending on them, that builds relationships, it builds trust, it helps the people see you as a vulnerable servant and not just someone who is a foreigner, a wealthy foreigner that has it all together and doesn't need them. People want to be needed. The last suggestion I would have for you concerning teams is to know that teams are not static. When you form as a team, you love those relationships, you value those relationships, you dream dreams, you have visions of serving together for a long, long time, and that's good, and those you should have those dreams and visions. But at the same time, teams will change. Life happens, things change, and the composition of your team will change over time. Teams that I was on changed because we had a teammate that died on the field. People got married. People had kids. Some people had to leave the field because of stateside situations. Some people didn't feel that they were thriving in that ministry role, and that they needed to return to their home country. People were on and off the field sometimes because of health situations, because of support issues. Theological incompatibility can mean sometimes that people who thought that they could work together maybe can't. There can be personality clashes. Unfortunately, there can be moral problems that may result in a teammate needing to leave the field. Some of these situations are just normal life circumstances. Some are tragedies, but just to know that life happens and teams do change. Some of these things can be prevented. But not all can be prevented. So one thing that you need to do when it's time for someone to go, to bless them as they come, as they go. Bless new people when they come. Always try to part on a positive note, even if there may have been differences that brought about the separation. Try to make sure that things end on a positive note, and don't burn bridges in terms of relationships. Do everything you can to maintain good and healthy relationships, even if your team composition does not stay the same as you originally envisioned it. Well, these are some thoughts that I had that I think are worth sharing, and I pray that they'll be a blessing to you.